Well, hello everybody. It's your best friend Justin from J Master Productions yet again. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. We got some things I want to get into here today. I actually want to talk a little bit about the Manosphere and Red Pill, how that in 2026 it certainly looks a lot different than it did, let's just say, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. This whole movement has completely shifted a generation of young men, in particular in my age bracket, um, to think and act a certain way. But before we get into that, I want to remind everyone that if you do like my content, because if you're new to this channel, my content is all about truth. We talk about the truth of things going on in this world. We're not going to sit here and take political sides. We're not going to sit here and outsource our power that we have to politicians or to imaginary figures in religion. This is all about what's really taking place, just straight up going on in the world. Okay? And this isn't to toot my own horn or say, oh, I have all the answers and I know everything. It's certainly not the case. But if you watch my content, and I know it's hard for people to sit through like a 10-minute video or 20-minute video these days, if people just gave me a chance and listen to what I have to say and really listen, they're going to understand and see what I'm talking about because it's not hard to see, especially in this time period that we find ourselves in. Please follow me though, because this is the best way you can support me. Follow me on X, subscribe to my YouTube channel here. You can go to my link tree, and of course, if you're watching this from YouTube, there's in the description box below. I have the usernames to all my social medias to where you could find me. I even have my email there if you want to get in touch with me. Okay, and you want to make a video together or something, do something in person, whatever. Reach out to me. So I just wanted to say that real quick, but we'll get into some tweets. We'll get into some things that I found interesting because what tends to happen, especially on X, is there's a lot of division on there. I don't know if these accounts are genuine or not. I'm sure some of them are genuine. Some of them might just be bots and rage bait account. But there'll be time periods where all this dating and gender war stuff pops up on my X. It's happened throughout the years. Now I've spoken about red pill and what I think about it in the past, but something I've noticed is it's really the pendulum really swung to where it was feminism that was prominent for a long time, right? And we're hearing about women's rights. We were hearing about this for decades up until I would say about 2021. It seemed when guys like Andrew Tate and these YouTubers who would give red pill dating advice, they started to gain traction. They started to get big. Were these guys genuine with what they were saying? Were they useful idiots? Were they agents of some sort? Chaos agents? I'm not 100% sure. I can say for a fact that some of them certainly are at this point in time. The big ones, such as Nick Fuentes, who's a very hyper masculine dude, Myron Gaines, Jake Shields, Candace Owens, even Charlie Kirk was about all that too. And a lot of the conservative influencers are hyper masculine, and that's really what the whole red pill, manosphere, MGTOW movement has been about. Because it was this mass awakening, and I know it really started with MGTOW. I believe that's when the original, men going their own way. All right, some community for men, because feminism. Let's be real. It's been around for a long time. Like modern neo-feminism has been around since the 70s. Of course, started and funded by yours truly, George Soros, Rockefeller, the same guy who started your central banks and owns your oil and owns your media and owns your pharmaceutical companies, so on and so forth, right? Same people we always can trace the dots to that we typically do here on this channel, right? So, yeah, I first came across Red Pill in 2019, right? I broke up with a girl. I was confused. At that point in time, that was my third relationship that I've had that ended pretty bad because at that point I've had three girlfriends. I was 22 years old, and I just looked up dating advice on the internet. I was confused. I did it on YouTube in particular, and I came across a guy named the 33 Secrets, and I would say he's decently big in the red pill community. I don't watch any of the YouTubers anymore, so I don't know who's big now, who's not. But this is like in 2019. So, I came across him, and they start saying he starts preaching, "Don't be a nice guy, don't kowtow to women, do the opposite of what they say. Don't respond to their texts right away. Don't buy them gifts. Don't validate them. Don't call them pretty. Be like me, almost like borderline mean to them. And at first it sounded crazy to me. So I watched some of it and I was like, yeah, this sounds stupid. Because let's be real, when you're a guy and you're around my age, maybe it's a little different now because I'm almost 30. We were taught that to be nice. We were taught to be respectful. We were taught women like nice guys. Women themselves will tell you, right, that they like nice guys, but clearly that's not the case. They don't like or respect nice men. They say they want that, but their actions contradict that. Women collectively, I wish I could say that, it's not all women, but unfortunately it's the vast majority. The gender war is a very, very prominent and important thing because it has really divided the sexes. Hence, all this loneliness, all this depression. Sex is on a complete decline. Relationships intimately are on a decline. Friendships that friendships overall, people having contact with each other has declined over the years. But intimate relationships is down. People aren't having kids anymore. People aren't getting married anymore. And it has to do with feminism and now this, I don't even know what to call it. I guess this hyper-masculine movement, I'll call it that. The antidote to feminism, basically. There had to be some sort of antidote because let's be real. It happened to me, right, when I was 22. Us guys, we don't have the luxury of options that women have in this day and age. A woman, let's be real. When she gets boobs, right, like at the age of like 14, they have social media. Pretty much all teenagers have social media, and women realize from a very young age that they can garner all this attention and guys messaging them, wanting to maybe hang out with them or be their girlfriend or just talk to them in general, right? And they realize this from a young age, and they realize from a young age that men will do anything when it comes to sex. If they just show some of their body, act a little promiscuous, that guys will comply with what they want. They realize this from a young age. They're not going to tell guys this, at least most of them won't. But they realize this from a young age, and they realize that they have all these options, and guys just don't get this luxury. Doesn't matter if you're good looking, if you're in shape, if you got high social status, if you're rich, those things, yeah, they open the doors for you, but it doesn't guarantee anything. My point is that, girls, 99% of the time, a girl isn't going to message a guy on social media or vice versa, especially meet them, not vice versa, but I mean in person. The chances of a girl shooting her shot at you is rare. And it happens. I'm not saying it doesn't. It's happened to me before, but it's very, very rare. I pretty much always have to be the first one to make a move, right? But anyway, my point with what I'm trying to say is women have this plethora of options, especially when they get older. Then they can download dating apps, right? And it's very easy for them to get attention from men. I'm not saying that the men they're getting attention from are ideal partners or anything like that. But what women just won't understand and don't seem to get it is like they always have someone to talk to, and a man simply has most of the time has no one to talk to. And let's be real too, women don't want to hear a man's problems most of the time because there's a lot of social engineering that's gone on. And what I really disagree with the red pill movement and the manosphere and all that is they say these things are biology. Women are just they basically preach women are evil by nature. They'll even talk about the Bible, how Eve deceived Adam to eat from the tree of life, and that's what cursed humans, and God got all mad because of that, right? And they'll say, women since the beginning of time have been survivalists. They're always going to choose the quote-unquote biggest, baddest, richest, most powerful, dominant man, right? Which was probably true. But again, it's because what are the women being portrayed? What do these men portray to women? They portray safety and security, right? And if women are being taught this, and I'm sure women's families, because all of our families pretty much effed us up, because none of our families taught us any truth or any morality at all. They taught us what the world wants us to view as truth and morality. That's going to teach women over time to view money, right? To view fiat currency, to view a dominator of some sort, someone who enslaves people as attractive, as sexy, as alluring, as seductive, right? And that's pretty much what's gone on throughout the years, right? Because there's that typical joke, right? If you're a gym goer like myself, you probably heard this joke, Someone who's new in the gym is going to ask, what machine should I do, or what exercise should I do to get the most ladies? That's going to get the most attention from ladies. And the gym trainer says, he points at the ATM and says, there it is. if you want the most women, yeah, there it is. Nothing in here is going to help with that. And it's funny because also another joke is with the gym is, you get big muscles, right? And it's mainly dudes that compliment you. Not that women don't like that, but you mainly get dudes complimenting you, which is, it's a joke. If you're a gym goer, you know what I'm referring to here. But what's interesting is I feel that the dynamics have shifted a little with money. Not saying that women don't want financial stability. Of course they do, right? They want their cake and they want to eat it too. They want to make their own money, but they want the man to make even more money because more women are employed today than men. More women are graduating college than men. More women are excelling in school than men. Women are graduating at a more rapid pace, if I didn't say that already. And I'm pretty sure women are out earning men in terms of those basic careers. Overall, yes, there's more men that are millionaires and all those things. And you know what? A lot of women will always argue this to the death. No matter how much freedom these women get, no matter how much equal rights, quote unquote, they get to men, they're still going to say they're not equal to men. And I would say at this point, it's the pendulum has swung to where women have a lot more rights than men, and they can get away with a lot more. The system, as we all know, the government enslavement system that acts as their protectors, is always going to screw the man over a woman. If there's domestic incidents, if there's child support or any of that, they're always going to screw the man over and try to help the woman, because this empowers the woman. This gives the woman power over men. It's all about feminizing the men. That's what all this agenda is. If men are weak, then society is a lot more easy to control, to manipulate. There's not going to be much resistance at all, and that's what's going on. And I want to get into some tweets here that will get me into this point. Now, mind you, there's a lot to say on this topic. I'm going to have to make a lot of videos on this because the neo-feminism movement, because there's two types of feminism. There's feminism, which is the basic rights for women to have as men, which I believe in. I believe women should have the right to vote, to work, to do things that men could do. But what they've done, the powers that be, is they've made men look evil to women with the neo-feminism. They've made it seem like men have oppressed them and that men hate them and that men don't want them to succeed. And in some sense, right, because they always talk about the patriarchy, it is true. In this current world, there is a patriarchy, right? It's all men, the powers that be, the elites, is mainly comprised of men that make the top decisions. So there is truth to it, right? Like, there is a patriarchy, but the patriarchy isn't destroying women only and harming men. It's destroying all of us. And that's the bigger picture people really need to see is when it comes to the government, and especially their political beliefs, is it doesn't matter. Like, they might think that they're a victim of some sort, but the fact of the matter is we're all being enslaved by the government, by that 1% that controls the 99%. So anyway, let's get into this tweet here. The Manosphere is a very successful psyop, because that's what it was. It was a psyop that a lot of men, your average man, knows about this. And that's the thing. Ever since, 2023, I would say this blew up because of people like Andrew Tate, the Fresh and Fit podcast. Nick Fuentes started coming on the scene. And there's a ton of just red pill talking points. When I see dating stuff being posted on Instagram even, or X, it's a fight between men and women, and the men are using these red pill talking points that I first started hearing, in 2019, 2020, and there's truth in what the red pill movement talks about, how the modern woman is and dealing with them. There's a lot of truth in it, but it's not because of biology or women are just inherently evil. It's all these decades and generations of social engineering to make women view things a certain way, and they're told these things, right? The princess syndrome. I mean, they're brainwashed by these things the second they come into this world through their parents, through what the entertainment they see, through what the world tells them, right? But anyway, the Manosphere is a very successful psyop, keeping men, especially young men, focused on fantasies of dominance and directing it to women and minorities, so that they never direct their energy to toppling the powers that be and then sending them to war or debt to finish them off. Well, I don't know about the last part, but I mean, it's true what she's saying, because what it has to do with a lot of these young men is their desire to dominate. And I'm sure a lot of them feel this way, because I'm speaking from the average young man's perspective, and it sounds pretty dark, Like, we don't get any attention from women. When we message a girl on social media, like most of the time they don't answer us. If we download a dating app, very rare we even get matches. Like, women will never understand how hard it is as a guy to even just get a date, to get a girl to agree to go out with you. And then everything else is even more hard. Will she eventually want to see you again? Will it turn into anything long term? You know what I'm saying? Or even just short term. Even if it is just short term fun, is it even going to be that? Because a girl can get all of that very, very easily. And that's the thing. Sorry if you saw that there, but that's the thing. And again, I really think women have a hard time understanding this. That it is so hard for your average guy to get a date, to get any woman's attention. And there's guys, again, I'm almost 30. I know so many guys around my age, and they're so inexperienced with women. Like, they have no idea how the modern woman is, how to be with them, how to act, how to attract them, because these guys themselves don't know how to be men. And that is a big fact that a lot of women, and we'll get into another tweet here, complain about, is there's a lack of real men. Now, I don't know what their definition of a real man is. I think there's an authentic real man and an inauthentic real man. And I think the inauthentic real man that these women speak about is men who want to dominate, who want power over other people, who want to control other people, who have a lot of fiat currency, money, right? Because a lot of, pretty much, I would say 90% of women out here, their value system is money. That is what they size someone up in terms of value to be, is through money, right? So there's the inauthentic male who a lot of women will like that. Maybe a celebrity status, social status. And then there's an authentic, man, I would say, that's an alpha male, quote unquote, which is someone who would stand up and fight against the system, who stands up for truth, who stands up for morality, who doesn't care what people think about him, who doesn't stop, who doesn't get discouraged, who wakes up every day, no matter how he feels, is still going to get the work done he needs to do. No one's perfect. But the authentic alpha male, I would say, is a guy who is going to stand up for what's right, is going to do the right thing, simply. Isn't going to comply with what the world wants, isn't going to be a dominator, isn't going to want to dominate someone else, doesn't want to be dominated. Because that's how relationship dynamics are in these days. Either one, whether it's the man or woman, one wants to be controlled and one wants to do the controlling. And that's pretty much how relationships work. And it's become normalized. Like, people think it's normal, but it's not normal. We shouldn't want to dominate anyone. We shouldn't want to have the desire to be dominated. But something, too, with the red pill thing that goes with the tweet as well here is the minorities that she said. Like, people, they want to direct that the dominance that they have. I'm sure, like, a lot of guys have suppressed dominance, but I think what she's trying to say is that the conservatives, right, they are very hyper-masculine, and the liberals tend to be a lot more softer and feminine. And you could see on the MAGA side of things, or if you just lean on that side, you don't even have to be MAGA, that there's a big hatred towards minorities, specifically, quote-unquote, illegal immigrants. And we see this. I don't gotta explain it. Gotta really live under a rock not to see it. But they have this hate towards them. And it's not like, I'm pretty sure all of these people that hate them, like, I would say almost 100% of them, have probably never been wronged by an illegal immigrant. They're just falling for the psyops of seeing all this stuff on the news, hearing the statistics about it, how like 30 million illegals came in, which I'm sure is not the case, that it was that many. But there was a ton of propaganda, right? When Biden, with his last year of presidency, and let it, quote unquote, he let all the illegals in, this and that, which was part of an agenda, of course. Not that that wasn't happening, but it was completely exaggerated. And to this day, you see MAGA in an uproar about it. And I know Trump is like backing up off of it now, which has a lot of MAGA people mad. But it seems like these white conservatives, or just American conservatives, they don't even have to be white, they seem to have this hatred, I guess you could say, towards women and minorities. And like I said, man, I'm seeing dudes on Instagram just on your average, like I'm seeing red pill talking points, which I thought I would never see. It seems like it's red pill blew up so much that the average guy knows about the women's games now. I would say at least half of the dudes out here are know about how women are in their games, and how they're at a disadvantage in the dating market. Like a lot of men are opting out, and this has been a thing for a long time about all these men opting out because they don't see a point. They don't want to support a system that clearly doesn't support them. It's clearly rigged against them, especially if you're a guy, because like I was saying earlier, the system supports women way more than men. And that's another reason why women, too, deep down inside and subconsciously, they might not like the authentic alpha male who fights against the system because they look at the system as safety and security, right? And a lot of people are just brainwashed into thinking that it's the right thing. That, oh, life is all about getting money, and life is, yeah, no matter how corrupt you are, you got to take care of yourself and your family. Some people just think it's all about money. They don't see the spiritual significance to it. They don't see how it affects their life. They don't see where things are going. Like I said in my last video that I preached on a lot, people are simply destroyed for a lack of knowledge. They do not have the knowledge to see or understand what is taking place in front of them, and it's very sad. So we'll get into this other tweet here. I don't want to make this video too long, so I'll probably start to wrap it up soon. But I found this to be pretty funny, and I've been seeing a lot of tweets like this popping up on my X. And like I said, a lot of this gender war stuff pops up on my feed. It doesn't even it does. The powers that be, they want people fighting. They want things on their feed, whether it be politics or whatever, so that people could fight about it, religion, right? And the gender war is huge, man, because most people are straight, right? Most people want to have a partner in life. So this applies to pretty much everyone. That's what's interesting about the gender war and dating and talking about it, because it basically applies to everyone. I know there's people out here that maybe they're confused or whatever about their gender, but the point is that I'm sure these people want a partner as well, whether it be with their same sex or the opposite sex or whatever, right? My point is that this affects pretty much everyone, because I would say 99.9999% of people want a partner at some point in their life. Anyway, this tweet goes on to say that men were asked, if you want kids, why wouldn't you consider adopting or fostering? And she goes on to say that some of them replied, I want to continue my bloodline / legacy / last name. And then she goes on to say, what legacy? Jeff Smith? And I mean, I thought it was a little bit funny. And I know some men are going to get mad. Listen, I used to read all these hate things about men and get super mad and frustrated. I wouldn't, I'm not the kind of person where I'm going to get triggered enough to respond to a tweet. I make content. I don't need to be on Twitter. Making content is what people should be doing, because it shows a lot about them. It shows they're real. It shows they're genuine. It shows they have competency. It shows they have confidence. It shows they have intelligence, right? I mean, but that's a different topic. Anyway, but this is true, because like I was saying earlier, there's so many dudes my age who they don't even know what I know, right? They're not even awake, really, and that's one thing. But it's just they go to work, they maybe go to the gym, and then they go home, and then they don't do much. They don't put themselves out there. They have no belief system. They don't fight for anything. They have no real hobbies. They're always feeling sorry for themselves. They feel like they're victims. And listen, we're all victims of our own circumstance. But I don't know what these guys do. I'm so confused as to what guys my age do. I rarely know anyone my age who has kids. I rarely know anyone my age who's married. I don't know what men are doing. I don't know where their focus is. I don't know where they put their energy, but it's clearly not in anything worthwhile. These guys don't do any. They have all the time in the world. They're 30 years old. They got no kids. They're not married. I'm sure they got a job. Okay, they work maybe 40, 50 hours a week, but you got all this other time. What are men doing? You're not gonna get a girlfriend by sitting on your ass, by just going to work, going to the gym, getting big muscles, and then going home. It's not gonna happen. You gotta put yourself out there and fight for whatever you believe in. You gotta learn things, man. You gotta have competency as a guy if you want to attract women. Okay, women aren't gonna always agree with you. All right, and the ones who don't agree, like if people, there's women I'm sure who view my content or listen to what I say and they don't want anything to do with me. That's fine. That is fine. I want women to know that I do this. It's not gonna be the first thing I say if I first meet women, but I want them to know I do this. Because if they don't agree or they don't like this, it's not going to work out. Because I'm not going to stop. Because this is my purpose. This is what men should be doing. Some sort of greater work that benefits people, not just themselves. They should become teachers of morality and truth. Because, hell, most men don't know truth. They don't know morality. They support this system. A lot of them just dig their head in the sand, and they don't even know what's going on, a lot of men. They're sleepwalking through life going through the motions. So this is why I understand. It's like, yo, bro, what legacy that like men that speak this way? A lot of your average men have this entitlement now. The same entitlement that the average woman does, right? It's so funny how it was women doing it and now the men have followed with this entitlement that women have. And the dating market is just a complete wreck because of this. Both men and women have it wrong. Both men and women don't realize they've been played. They've been socially engineered to be a certain way, to act a certain way, to view each other a certain way, to react to things a certain way, to get triggered by things. And until people can grow a brain and realize even half of this shit, nothing's going to change. Things are going to get worse. People are so divided. There is no coming together. I don't see that happening. I wish it would, but people are way too in their own world, careless, lack compassion, lack empathy, lack care. People would rather just drop dead, I feel like, than know the actual truth. And you know what's even more funny, like I spoke about in my previous videos? The truth is out there, man. We all know our politicians. We all know our celebrities. We've been knowing these things for a long time now, that they're pedophiles and do horrific things with children. And you would think that would get people to rise up, but no, it doesn't. We are at a point in time when the powers that be could straight up tell us every effed up thing that they do to us, to children, how they've lied to us about everything, how everything we perceive is a lie, and people just wouldn't believe it. They're gonna make excuses because it's too much for them to handle. Like, yeah, there's gonna be people that wake up and it's gonna confirm people's belief or suspicion, but I guarantee the vast majority of the population would deny it and just go about and pretend like they didn't just hear that. Because this system is the only thing people know. This system is coming to an end. Your children don't have a future. And you're just continuously supporting a system by showing up to your job, by paying these taxes, by believing money is real, by watching the news, by thinking a politician is going to save you, by going and casting in a vote. You know, you just continuously feed this beast. And this beast is about just ready to implode, and it's gonna just destroy everything you've ever worked for, and you're not gonna like where you end up. But hey, you deserve it. You deserve to lose it all. You deserve to lose your conveniences for a while. I can't tell you exactly what's gonna happen, but because the powers that be just have us so tight in their grip, they can just pull whatever card they want on us at this point. But not to get too far off topic. I know I'm talking about, you know, Manosphere, feminism, and all that stuff. Listen, like I said, I'm almost 30. I am right in this. I understand how the dating market is. I've gone on plenty of dates. I know how women are, especially in the United States. American women are very, very difficult to deal with. It's like they're not even human or women. Like, you know, they'll be pretty and all. But, man, some of them are just really soulless. And the same could be said for guys, too, man. I'm not saying that. But, the woman has been brought up to be masculine, and the men are feminine. That's the best way I could put it in simple terms. The vast majority of women are hyper masculine in their beliefs. They act it, they think it, their actions show it. Men have a lot of hyper masculine beliefs as well, and they act on it as well. But in the end of the day, men are more feminized than women are, because it's the men here that won't stand up and fight. I feel like there's more women that stand up for, even though I don't believe in politics or any of it. I'm just using it as an example. I see more women that care about political causes and human rights and all those things than I do men. Because again, I don't know what men are doing. I really truly don't. I wish, I've made plenty of videos that try to empower men, and it just doesn't seem to do it. Like, a man will feel motivated for one day, and then he goes in this depression for a few weeks or a few months, and he comes out of it for like a day or two. Like, you gotta be consistent, man. We are grown-ups here. We are not 19 years old anymore. We are grown-ups, okay? And the women could really cause a huge change in this world if they stop supporting this system, if they stop saying that they want men who are tall, with money, with, you know what I'm saying, who have this all this swag, right? What if they said, I want a man who talks about truth and morality and makes YouTube videos like Justin from J Master Productions? What if they started saying that? Well, I want a guy who knows truth and morality and has a good character. What if women started saying that and actually their actions showed it, and instead of saying that they want a man with money or a man who's tall, right? Think about how much change that would cause for men. So I want women to think about that, how much power they have in terms of how they can change, because the men are reacting to what women respond to. That is simply what has been going on. The woman has been socially engineered a certain way, right? And the men are simply responding to how the women react to things, which is why all these the F-boy types or the bad boy types get these women, right? And because a lot of men are starting to act that way. Or maybe they're just turning cold-hearted, I don't know. But my point is that the men are just simply doing things so that they can attract women. Like, when a man gets a lot of money, right, one of the first things he's probably going to think about is, oh, well, now this is going to get me access to a lot of women, right? And again, just because you have money doesn't mean that you're going to attract women. You're probably just going to attract the wrong women, if anything. What I was going to say, too, is there's been a shift in how the woman views money, too. And I feel like this has kind of come in recent years, where I'm not saying that women don't want a guy who has financial stability, but women are seeming to pride themselves on being able to support themselves, right? The whole, oh, I don't need no man and all that stuff. So it's like a woman doesn't want to be viewed by her friends and family as, oh, like, I'm financially dependent on my boyfriend or my husband or whatever, right? Because they're going to be viewed as weak. So a lot of the times they're going to want, yes, their man to be working, but they want to work too. It's not like they don't want to work. And I'm not saying this holds true for all women. Obviously, there's differences, but what I've been noticing, because this is kind of just an opinion, I feel that a lot of women have kind of shifted their viewpoint on money because they realize that, well, if I just marry a man for money, then that means he'll probably control me and all this stuff, and he'll be the one who has power over me, and I don't want that, But not even just that, they're going to get viewed by their friends a certain way, right? They're going to be like, oh, well, she's weak because she relies on her husband for money. So I hope I'm making sense. Like, I feel like women, like, they pride themselves on independence. Like, the last thing they want to be viewed as is, like, weak and having to rely on men, Anyway, guys, I don't want to keep ranting here because I'm kind of going all over the place. I hope what I said makes sense, because this is a very deep and extensive topic that I could literally spend days talking about it, because this goes so deep. This is something that affects pretty much all of us, the neo-feminism agenda, the gender war that's been propagated on us that a lot of people don't even realize. So I will definitely make more videos on this. I just wanted to come up on here and make some content and talk to you guys, because I started seeing a lot of tweets about, basically men and women fighting again and all the gender war divide, whatever. So let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment. As always, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on all my social media accounts. Share the video. Spread the word. Be inspired. Seek out research on how these things have happened. How it affects you now and where it's going to lead to. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Your best friend, Justin, from J Master Productions, and have a great weekend, everyone.